Look at us here on Office Hours episode 842 or so. Man, and I have two extraordinary co-hosts with me. One, the amazing gnome himself. He's power and powerful, the amazing Rhett Power, all bundled up from the southern spell of frozen ice. No offense to the government. Our friend.
offense taken by some, probably.
Yeah, I think they redefined the word ice because they didn't want to bring up bad feelings in the southern storm there. They said, don't say ice, say frozen water. Anyways, regardless, it's freaking cold. And stay warm, Rhett Powers. And thank you at theheadofmentals.com for joining us. And of course, our mentor, me and the gnome. There is only one Blaine Bartlett in the world. He is helping so many, a world business leader and consultant and advisor, my mentor in business and mindset, making possibilities into reality. People ask me all the time, who mentors me? He's right up there in the top corner. Blaine Bartlett, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure. I love doing this show.
Yeah, me too. The soul of business is taking on a lot of soul. Speaking of soul, let's bring on our first guest. She is amazing and she's patient. Adaku is here, and she's in one of my favorite places. I think she is, at least, in Tulum, Mexico. Welcome to Office Hours, episode 842.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
It is our pleasure. And you are a firstborn daughter specialist, a founder of the Healed Hero community. And if we've ever need healing, it'd probably be now. And there's multiple ways that we can heal. And as a transformational coach, you're helping many to break free from the anxiety, fear, and burnout, the things that have really interfered with the healing process that is needed around the world. What is your personal experience as a healed hero to build this community? Usually people build a frequency, a neighborhood, and a community around their own personal frequency. Is that true in your case?
Definitely so. I'm a firstborn daughter. I'm the second eldest of 7 children. And I went from living a really abundant lifestyle. My dad was a millionaire in Nigeria to moving to London and losing everything and being with my mom, who was a single parent. So there was a lot of days without food, no electricity, no gas. And as an 8-year-old little girl, I was like, I've got to do something. So I signed my childhood away, stepped into the mum position. My mum's second husband became schizophrenic 3 months after she married him. So her attention went to him, and I was cooking, cleaning, braiding hair, and babysitting to make a little bit of money here and there to help the family. So that kind of forced me to become an adult really quickly. And I was fine for a while. And then in my early 20s, I fell into depression, had a failed suicide attempt. And that's when my journey of transformation began. And that's when I also started my business. And I started to see a correlation between things that I was shifting and working through and the success I was having in my business. So 4 years into the business, I grew it to 7 figures and realized that I had lost my motivation. So I was like, who am I? What do I even like to do? Had a quarter-life crisis at 30. Went to India and realized I need to figure out what my purpose is. And people were telling me to coach, and I'm like, I've been looking after people all my life, and now you want me to go and find strangers to look after? Why would I do that? But eventually I gave in, realized I had a gift for it. And then over the years, the niche has kind of found me. It was actually just 1.5 years ago, 2 of my clients asked for coaching on their dynamic with their firstborn daughters. And I was like, what's this pattern? And I stepped back and I realized every single woman I've been working with was a firstborn daughter. Then I Googled it, and I realized that in 2024, there was official research that came out that was focused on eldest daughter syndrome. And now it's going viral online. Everyone's posting about firstborn daughters and eldest daughters. I was like, you know what? I think I'm an ideal person to make a dent in breaking whatever this generational pattern is. So that's how I ended up here.
That's super cool. You know, as I moved to one of my co-hosts, I was with Tim Story yesterday, one of my other mentors, and Tim had this great saying as I listened to your journey, applicable to mine as well as I'm sure others, but he said, God will only give you an invitation by understanding your limitations. And it really resonated with me that God kept giving you these limitations, and He knew that you had limitations, but it is exceptional where you took that invitation and, despite your limitations, have pushed forward and through and empowered others from the depths of a suicide attempt to empowering so many people, and then recognizing your true specialty, your true niche of a firstborn daughter. My daughter actually reviews all these notes, so my oldest daughter. I'm super excited to see how she resonates with the belief of this syndrome of the eldest daughter syndrome that you help people with. All right, who's up, the gnome or the other hero, Blaine Bartlett?
It's Mr. Bartlett.
All right,
Well,
sir, he's a sir.
Sir, I am a knight. Yes.
I know, so am I. We were
How
both
are you?
knighted by the
Yeah,
same
just going,
bullshit
whatever.
group. The same bullshit group gave us honorary doctorates and knighthoods, and
I don't have an honorary doctorate.
I do. I made my mom proud.
There.
It made my mom proud.
He's a real doctor.
I'm a real doctor.
Cynthia said he's the doctor of love.
There you go.
Ooh.
Hey, ooh, you're
They
gonna.
wrote a song. They wrote a
I'm gonna
song
let her
about
know
double
about
B.
that.
Danger, 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 danger.
Yeah, exactly. Doctor, you've got a process that you call strategic vulnerability, and that's an oxymoronic phrase in one sense. Yeah, because a lot of people that I coach and work with, vulnerability is almost an anathema. It's kind of like, no, danger, danger, danger. I don't want to go there. You're positioning it as a strategic move for particularly first daughters. Can you talk a little bit, number one, about how you came to marry those two, strategic and vulnerability, and then a little bit about what the process is involving?
Okay. So a lot of the women that were coming to me when I first started my practice were like, I know I'm not reaching my full potential. I want promotions in my role, or I want to grow my business. And they didn't care anything about their childhood. They didn't want to hear about it. It was just like, help me achieve, because a lot of them are high achievers. So when I started probing and looking at what they were dealing with, I started realizing that they are operating with this armor, which is limiting them from not only having self-awareness of what they need to break through, but being able to create an ecosystem of support. And there's a level of vulnerability that leads to that. But when you say vulnerability to someone who's ambitious, they shut it down and they think, oh, that's weak, or people are not going to respect me. But there is something, I think that social media is kind of showing how powerful being authentic and being vulnerable and being honest about where you are is, in terms of being able to enroll mentors, enroll advocates, and people that are really going to support you in the success that you want. So the strategic vulnerability framework are the key steps that I've identified that firstborn daughters need to break through in order for them to expand in whatever area they're trying to shift, mainly business and career. The first mode is the locked down mode, it's armor mode. In order to move from there, they need to be self-aware. And sometimes when you're stepping into self-awareness, you have to admit things that are not so pretty and not so nice. So that requires a level of personal vulnerability to turn inwards and admit those truths. Then once you admit that, you kind of have to share in order for you to know who can help you and who can support you to move through those things that you've identified. So strategic sharing is being able to identify not only safe relationships where you can share, but strategic relationships that would be able to help you move forward. And then once you've identified that level, it's about learning to outsource and receive help. So it's really difficult for someone who's a giver to be able to receive. So that feels vulnerable in itself, because they're thinking, what if everything falls apart, if I lose control? What if people reject me? What if there's a lot of what ifs that come with receiving. So a lot of the times they're like, okay, well, if I can't give, then I'm not going to receive. But sometimes you've got to receive and know that you're going to pay it forward somewhere else. So that also requires a level of vulnerability. And then once you get there, there's a vulnerability that comes with stepping into your magnificence. So being in that full authenticity, there's am I going to be too much? Are people going to judge me? Are people going to be intimidated by me? Am I going to lose all of the friends that I had when I was humble and unsuccessful? That requires a level of vulnerability that also needs to work through. So those are the stages of vulnerability that, when shift, usually lead to success. For example, I had a client who had a business. She was making about between 160 and 300K a year in her business for 9 years before she started working with me. And then within 8 months, she 5x that to 800,000 just by going through those personal steps of working on herself. So it can be powerful when applied.
That's fascinating. David talks about all the time about learning how to receive, right?
Yep.
This is fascinating to me, and I wish I only have boys, so I don't. This is interesting, but for people listening, and let's say you have daughters, you have kids, how do fathers and how do mothers talk about this with their kids? Is there do you have any recommendations or thoughts about that? Because this seems like a real thing, and each kid's got their own things, right? Middle kids have their own things, and so on and so forth. But how do you talk to your kids about this, or even your grown kids about this?
The middle kids are the ones that cause the problems for the firstborn kid. Trust me.
Yeah, that is true.
It's usually mental torture, but
all of the kids underneath the firstborn are causing different types of problems, but we love them anyway. Okay, so with the problem, I think they teach us. For me personally, my siblings demonstrate to me how to have fun. I became really serious because of all the responsibilities I had, and they're like reckless and taking risk and enjoying themselves. And I'm like, I would never do that. And they're like, why not? So there's benefits in each role. In terms of conversations, it's more than likely the eldest is going to tell you what they're not happy about. So they're going to, I think that there's something that happens with parents. When it's your first child and your first girl child, there's this pressure to make sure that they turn out well, or there are more expectations. And I always said, my mom had 7 kids and she was way less hands-on with the younger ones. And she was like, I'm just tired. I'm like, you were not that tired with me. I had all of these expectations that I had to live up to. So I think there's what parents really struggle with is taking acknowledgement for whatever negative impact their goodwill or good intentioned parenting had on their children, and being able to hear them and acknowledge and validate where they're coming from. That's all I wanted from my mum for a long time, is just apologize for the fact that you let me not have a childhood. And she really struggled with that until I forgave her. Then she gave me the apology and I didn't need it. But it would be really around. Yeah, sorry.
I was gonna say that's how forgiveness works. I hate to cut you off, but I have Mac waiting in the green room. We're gonna have you back on our multiple shows. This has been extremely fascinating. I know my oldest daughter is going to be all over me about the perfectionism, people pleasing, and approval addiction that has been definitely empowered from, I'm sure, some great parenting of my wife and I. Will probably me, more importantly. What a great lesson to learn. It is the day of niches and the riches of specialties, and our friend Adaku is here to help those heal in a hero community. Firstborn daughter specialist. There's many out there. Reach out. There's only one of her and many of you. Thank you, Adaku, for joining us. We'll have you back. Appreciate your patience as well.
Thank you. Speak soon.
Speak soon. Thank you. All right. Well, my trick of programming always works by not giving people enough time to talk, because people want more. It's a trick of scarcity, of course. But, this guy is a neighbor of our dear friend, Mary Morrissey, out in Coto de Casa. James McPartland is here, the Mac in the house. And he's developed a great series called the Unopened Gifts book series. He's also a keynote speaker, mind shift and performance coach, bringing almost 30 years of experience to the biggest companies in the world. Mac has set himself apart with real world entrepreneurship experience tied into that mindset. Welcome to episode 842 of Office Hours, the Soul of Business.
Dave, I could listen to you speak all day.
Thank you.
And
Come by. We're neighbors. We can
Yeah.
talk during the weekend and practice hypothecating on each other. It'd be perfect.
I'd love to. And if I got to meet the gnome, as I heard, as you
The
were
gnome.
describing, Dr. Love, and then I see don't do business with dicks, I feel comfortable here.
You belong. This is your frequency. And let's talk about the franchise, the Unopened Gifts franchise. Obviously, dealing with exploring how leaders don't really acknowledge themselves, and they end up in a lot of interference between them and their potential. What are some of the key characteristics of the series where we can help people develop all of these different skills, gain the knowledge, but also really encourage them to have a greater form of desire?
Yeah, listen, thank you for the question, and thank you for the reference. The Unopened Gifts story is essentially my attempt to speak about my own journey of having the courage to speak about something that I believe I was gifted at. And I guess really for the listener or for the reader, it's acknowledgement that each of us have a superpower. We've been given a gift upon assembly before we were put in mom and shot to earth and sprung out onto the planet, right? We get the test before we get the lesson plan. I think each of us have something that's quite unique, if maybe not only one thing, several things. And what I have found along the path is sometimes we need other people's permission to light that up. And the book is intended to allow people to give themselves permission to use the greatest gift they have.
Mhm.
Gnome, let the gnome go first. We cut him off a little
Yeah,
bit.
please.
I'm like Magic Johnson of hosting. I like give these assists. Nobody knows that. No look past the gnome.
Bounce past the gnome.
I got no words.
All right, Blaine, take over. He was ready.
And that's uncommon.
Go ahead,
I
Blaine.
got-
You're ready.
Go ahead, Ray. Go ahead.
I got you, Mac. Talk about who is the series for? I guess is my question. And how's it going to help them?
Yeah, great question. So up until, I don't know, maybe the last 12 or 18 months, I believed I would answer the question if someone said, hey, what's the greatest fear? Most people would say public speaking, followed by death. I actually believe, and there's some research to back it up, I think the number one fear people have is they're not enough. And that certainly had been my journey. And maybe to some degree it continues to be. And it's to speak to someone to say, no, you are enough. It's about reconditioning how you see yourself and the story that you tell yourself. And that for the most part, all of us feel similarly. No one else has really cracked the code. Maybe somebody's a bit more courageous and there's a way to learn from them. So I think it's for those that tell themselves a story that they're not good enough.
Blaine, I got to add this. When Blaine was mentoring me and convincing me that I somehow could be a great mentor, teacher, and coach to others, and I said, well, what if I don't know the answer, man? He's like, Dave, well, the best thing is to be honest and just say, I don't know, but I'll find someone that can help you or an answer for you. He said, or to save time, you could just always go with the problem that everybody has and just say, I know what the problem is. You don't feel worthy. And so depending on how much time I have, I either tell them, yeah, I don't know. I'll find someone like the gnome or Blaine that can answer you or Mac. But sometimes I have to admit, I use the secret sauce of Blaine Bartlett and just say, I know what the problem is. You're not worthy. And then the person always says, oh my gosh, how did you know? So, thank you, Blaine, for the great coaching of coaches.
Yeah. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. Yeah. One of the things that I'm intrigued with, Mac, is your use of endurance sports as part of the mechanism by which, and the methodology by which you actually work with folks. My experience with, I used to run marathons, half marathons. I was a gymnast at college, and I found myself going beyond what I thought I could just by putting myself in the spot where I had to. I remember rock climbing one time where I was hanging on a 3-point I was vibrating like an out of balance washing machine. And I absolutely refused. And I was on belay. I was not in any mortal danger, but it certainly felt like I was. And there was that piece in me that I was not going to not make it over the top. And I found, honest to God, I found something that was probably no wider than not even as wide as a credit card. And that was all I needed, was just that piece to just pop things up. I didn't know that that was there until I found myself in a position where not failing, failing was not an option, not because of risk or anything else, but just because of identity. I was not going to be that person. In your work with your clients, where does that come into play? And it's a question about how do you tap into that identity, because I'm not enough, I'm not worthy is an identity question. And there's something underneath it that is much richer.
You mind if I lay down while I respond?
Go for it.
You bring up great points. For me, the endurance things and trying to be in pursuit of the American dream, rack up cash and valuable prizes. What actually in my business life and in that pursuit of sport, slow as I was, I thought I was running towards something, Blaine.
Mm-hmm.
Quite honestly, I was running from the voice that was conditioned upon me as a kid to say, you'll never amount to anything.
Yep.
So I believe that, I would prove that voice wrong, even though at some point in time, I actually thought, what if I find out that it's true? And how it relates on the business side of things, one is there's always somebody stronger, faster, better, certainly than me, right? And it wasn't the result that was important, is how is that person tapping into what they had? And then I would also add that there's a difference from my perspective of who you are and who you wind up being. And on the business side of things, my case had been, I see consistently, whether it's business or athletics, is we can tend to hide behind our business card. This is who I am or what I've accomplished as identity. And as we all know, if and when that goes away, who's left?
Left with, yeah.
Yeah. And so it's really to understand what is it, what's the story the person's telling themselves? And is it running towards or away from something? That was certainly my case.
Such genius and
Okay,
insight.
you can get up now. That was
Yeah,
good.
please. He is an open gift with great capability, developing the Unopened Gifts book series, and a great keynote speaker, mindset and March shift coach, performance coach. If you want to bring the best out of yourself, you have to find someone, whether it's a company or an individual, like James Mac McPartland. Thank you so much. We look forward to doing more with you. Invitations, not obligations. You're in our backyard. We got to meet up at SoFi Stadium or one of the other studios we have here in Southern California. We need more of you pouring into our neighborhood and our community. James, thanks so much for joining us.
Gentlemen, thank you for the time. It was a gift.
You are a gift. Thank you, brother. Appreciate
Bye-bye.
you. All right. Only getting better here on episode 842. And we have our cleanup hitter right up the street by SoFi Stadium. LA boy Tom Lenoble is in the house, leadership coach, speaker, best-selling author, and founder at Terragon Enterprises. And his book came out in October, right before Halloween. My Life in Business Suits, Hospital Gowns, and High Heels. In control, being controlled, out of control. Thank you, Tom, for writing this book of not flinching and leading with love boldly. Thanks for joining us.
Hello, it's good to be with you today.
It's great to have you. You know, there's so many people writing books that don't really have meaning. And I've had the blessing of reading this book, and it truly has meaning. And there's a lot of stories about resilience and a lot of stories about reinvention. But unless it makes you feel, it really doesn't move the needle. And what I loved about the book is, for whatever reason, it really made me feel the way that you felt. And it inspired me to look at my own journey and have this profound understanding of my own intention. And it's the resilience, the reinvention, and helping me understand what truly matters. This is quite a journey. I was hoping we'll just help the guys out. If you could just give the highlights of that journey of resilience and reinvention that gave meaning to your journey.
First of all, thank you for reading my book. It's been really exciting. In fact, I am on my home on Maui. I'm supposed to be in New York because the book is on a billboard in New York in Times Square tomorrow.
Oh,
but
nice.
I decided 8 degrees or 82 degrees, and I think the choice was simple.
Good choice.
So this book, yeah, I think so. This book I wrote, I'm a very private man, and I've just spilled every secret I have. And the purpose for the reader is to see that who we are today is the sum parts of who we've been through our lives. And some of those parts in our life, we may feel shame, they're outrageous. We want to keep them private, or people just won't understand. But indeed, you wouldn't be who you are today without them. And the story is, I grew up in a shack. We even called it the shack fondly. It was a 1-bedroom shack that my grandfather built. We had no hot water, no refrigerator. My father literally brought home a block of ice every day. And I didn't know the difference. We had a lot of love. And I was one of those kids that went to school when I was 5. And after a few weeks at school, in my little 5-year-old mind, not how I'm going to say it today, I came home and looked around that shack and said, this isn't like where I'm supposed to be. And it started a journey for me of going through life, and our early childhood of a lot of love, and then getting old enough to be bullied. And one of my favorite stories, in 5th grade, I was going to get my you-know-what beat. And so I went to Dee Dee Collins, who had failed 5th grade twice and was about a foot taller than the rest of us, and was like, one of those girls. And so I made her a deal. I said, Dee Dee, if I give you my brownie every day and let you wear my watch, will you be my girlfriend? Well, she said yes. And I had no worries for a while, until she decided she wasn't interested in my brownie or watch anymore. Life's journey, I ended up being 300 pounds, if you can imagine. I weigh 150 today. I'm literally half what I was at that age. And those years were really, really difficult, yet I kept persevering and knew that there was something going to happen in my life. And then the early years, when I went away to school, I graduated high school on June 9th. I was in school June 12th. I think it's fair to say I wanted to get out of town. And it opened this whole world to me where I just was free. And I was my first time in a gay bar. I was just like, where am I here? How's this happening? That all led to many, many things, including I was a theater kid entering a talent show with a couple of guys. And it led to me doing shows 4 nights a week, 2 shows a night, traveling around the South, doing pageants, creating this character that I lived for a while, which I look back now on, and it was sort of like a theater thing, but it was also a great escape. I could totally be someone else. Then I decided to get a real life. I decided this wasn't the outcome I wanted, and started my career. I've had an amazing career. I like to say I retired being retired to be inspired. I had executive positions at MCI, if you remember the long distance carrier that broke up all the hotels. I was the head of customer service at Walmart.com. I ran global service operations for Palm, the Palm Pilot Trio people that are now part of HP. Got a phone call at my desk one day from a little unknown company named Facebook. I had no idea what Facebook was. They were still in colleges. I thanked them and hung up the phone. And a buddy called me and said, I referred you to Facebook and you didn't even talk to them. Long story short, and it's a great story, I interviewed with Mark Zuckerberg when he was 19 and ended up going to Facebook and opening their first customer operations, a bunch of other things there. I think I was employee 57, but who's counting? And the crazy thing about that is everyone there was 20 or 21. They had deferred law school, business school, medical school, because Facebook was in colleges. This was their dream job. I was 50, old enough to be everyone's father. I was called the adult in the room, which is my next book, by the way. And I went on and ran. I was the chief support officer of a company that's now the backbone of the Geek Squad remote support. Boards would send me in as the VP of HR CO to their startup with a perceived problem that was never the problem, by the way. Then I fell in love, got married, and traveled the world and reinvented myself because I felt like I had more wisdom to share to do all the things that I'm doing today. And through it all, I had 2 life-threatening illnesses. One I was told was terminal. And I'm before you today. I live with metastatic cancer now for 14 years. And as you can see, I am still here. And my main purpose in life is I am a philanthropist. And I do all the work I do to feed my philanthropy, which is underserved communities, youth in the arts, first-gen students, current women's issues of the day, a host of other things that I feel passionate about. And that's the journey you're going to read through this book, was many, many lessons through it of taking risks, having to be resilient, and having to reinvent myself many, many, many times in the process.
It's quite a story, and your writing is incredible. Which one of you two guys want to ask our final question coming into the end of the show?
Go for it, Blaine.
I'll take a shot at this. The idea of reinvention, it goes in the face of what I think most people think of when they think of themselves in their life. There's one of me and I've got one life. Put that one aside. There's one of me and it's a myriad of lives that I could actually occupy. They each have a place. And I was struck by you saying at 5 years of age, you're looking around going, I don't belong here. How often have you found in your work with people where they are stuck in a position that they knew at the soul level that I don't belong here, but they found themselves just in place, RIP, you see it on the tombstones. And it's not rest in peace, it's retired in place. And
yes,
that's where they end up.
Blaine, this is a great question. And I find with the people I work with that so many people live in the past.
Mm-hmm.
They live as if there's going to be a do-over. And like our phone where we watch a video and there's a little 10-second button, you can go back 10 seconds, like they're going to go back 10 seconds. And I try really hard to help them see that that's not where the magic is. The magic is right here, right now.
Yeah.
You get too far in the future. Some of us didn't, we got up today. Some people didn't. The other thing that I've learned with people is so many people, I think this word imposter syndrome gets used so much. I have learned through this life that when we are feeling like we're a fraud, it's really, we are on the verge of a growth spurt.
Mm-hmm.
Other thing that I find is people who are in a transition. I work with a lot of people who've lost their job. They tend to have a foot going forward, a foot going in the past, where you're not going to get very far. Try it. And I ask them, what was it you always wanted to do? And invariably, they have a hard time speaking it, and they have a hard time putting it out there. And it usually foots to someone told them they couldn't, they shouldn't, or themselves saying, I wouldn't. And yet there's something really about that, because each of us, I believe, is a unique expression here with something to contribute. And so many times it's about that thing you always wanted to do.
Yeah.
So beautiful. We are blessed to have Tom Lenoble, and I'm glad he's out in the sunshine like me and not back. And trust me, people can take pictures of your billboard and it will sell books. If you haven't read the book, it's available everywhere. Please give yourself the pleasure of learning a different perspective on how to be resilient and reinvent yourself. It's always within reach. Thank you, Tom Lenoble, for joining us.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
We'll see you when you get back. Stay warm.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, gentlemen, you know what time it is. It's episode 842. Noam, what time is it?
Man, every single one of these guys today, and thank you for your amazing curation of the theme. My theme from it all is you've got to really work at living that most beautiful life. And I mean, Tom's work is I mean, I love that focus on just that thing he said about one step forward, one step back ain't going to get you very far, right? And every single one of them was talking about living into your potential and and the best life that you can lead. And I think that's a great takeaway for me. It's a great reminder to think about that every day. Like, start your day with that kind of thinking,
I love it. Stay warm, my friend. Double B, what do you see?
Reinvention and vulnerability, they go together. The vulnerability piece, just kind of, being vulnerable enough with myself to kind of take a look inside. What wants to come out? And then how do I go about doing that? Just let it, let it shine. Yeah. So those two pieces combined, all three of our guests touched on that today. I loved it.
Yeah, I think for me, the takeaway is that purpose isn't everything that we see, but it's not easy to see. And each of these individuals could see purpose in, I'm sure, what other people could not. And that allows them to enjoy their consistent pursuit of their potential, regardless of the evidence. I love to tell people the evidence today may be contrary to where you want to be or better, but it has no relevance at all to where you're going to be or better. It's the meaning that you give the evidence, the purpose that you see in the evidence. And that's why gratitude, empathy, and accountability are so essential in the form of inspiration, of living in spirit to our higher self, our higher being. And that's what you two gentlemen do, is you teach and you mentor and you bring the best out of everyone that you encounter, and you see that purpose in everyone that you encounter as well, which makes you such special individuals and great authors, speakers, entrepreneurs, and of course, teachers, mentors, and coaches. What a blessing it is to me that I get to share Thursdays with you, and that when I can't share a Thursday, that you're here to cover my ass. And I appreciate that as well. So thank you, boys. I will see you next Thursday. Take care, and God bless you both.
All right, brothers.
Thanks, buddy.
Stay warm. Don't get sunburned if you live in California. All right, everyone, we're going to rock and roll. I got a speech at 5 p.m. tonight. So if you want to get our information, 949-298-2905, over 200 cities a year. If you don't want the information, don't want to be invited, do not text me at 949-298-2905. Pre-order Don't Do Business with Dix. If you do, just let me know. Email me, david@dmeltzer.com. I don't need a receipt or any proof. I trust you. If you pre-order Don't Do Business with Dix, I will sign a copy of Connected to Goodness. I will pay for shipping, pay for the book, and send it to you. david@dmeltzer.com. I appreciate everybody's support. Remember, most importantly, be more interested than interesting. Be kind. Be kind to your future self and continue to do good deeds. God bless everyone. Hit it, Gigi.